how that's cumulative and passed on from one generation to the next.
Right.
Right? How that lives in our bodies and affects our memories intergenerationally. So in addition to the trauma that you experience directly, there's this cumulative trauma that lives in your body that is passed on from one generation to the next. So even if you have not been incarcerated, even if you have not been beaten by the police, there is something inside of your body that is directly connected to your ancestors and that experience that comes down into your body in ways that you respond the same way you would respond if you had experienced that yourself. And so the question you're asking is like, what was one of the most important things that you had to do to heal, to start your healing journey?
Peace. Yeah, that's a great question. One of the first things I had to do was I had to really embrace the knowledge of self. For me, at the age of 15, I became aware of who I was. That's when I became a part of the 5% Nation of Gods and Earths. I was 15 years old. And I got introduced through crime, in the drug subculture, the drug game, however you want to call it. And so these individuals had drugs on one hand, but they also had knowledge of self, this mic went out. Okay. Yeah, I had, it threw me off a little bit, but they had lessons, about the history of Black people. We come from this, we come from that. And so it was like a mixture. And so I say that to say, I justified criminal activity. I was justifying my way of making a living. So you would say the gangsterism, watching mafia movies. The people I came up with, we glorified those names. And in our mind, we were justified in everything we did. And because we had an understanding that the system is corrupt. It's a corrupt system. So we justified selling drugs. We justified robbing. We justified kidnapping. We justified murder, all in a way, to us, it made sense, and I had to realize, wait a minute, on one hand, we saying, white supremacy, the racism, the biases, the prejudice, and all this stuff, but everything that we doing is against Black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were selling drugs to Black people. We were robbing Black people. We were killing Black people. That's what was going on. And when I began to realize that, that's when the healing started. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the same thing I'm saying I'm against. It's like hypocrisy. And this is how a lot of young Black youth are. They justify what they're doing because of the oppression. And one thing I wanted to say that I didn't say last night, that the great Martin Luther King identified. When you really study him, when you really go back and read his lectures, not just listen to it, but read it, you will see some very profound things that he was really radical. You know what I'm saying? He really was radical. And one of the most strongest things that stood out to me was, he said, kind of like I'm going to paraphrase it, but the key word was derivative crime. I think everyone in here might want to go look at that. I can't remember what speech it was. I know it's after the Detroit riots, and he was speaking about, where the rioting comes from inside the Black community. He was saying that, okay, you see Black people out here in the streets burning down things and rioting, but he's saying, okay, and they doing some things that you consider to be criminal activity, but these crimes are deriving from a bigger crime. And the bigger crime that he was speaking about was poverty. He was like, poverty is something that's created. And sometimes we, as young people, when you're real young, I didn't know I was poor when I was real young. I didn't realize that because everybody around me was like that. It's when I began to see other things outside of that environment, like, wow, we poor. And now you're getting introduced to a way how not to be poor. Because at first you're already doing a little robbing and stealing, you're doing little petty crimes and things, and then you get introduced to a lifestyle of drugs where you can sell drugs, you have the opportunity to do this or whatever. But again, my healing process took place when I began to understand, like, yo, I'm a white supremacist. You know what I'm saying? I got a white supremacist mind state. And so when I took that out of myself, when I eradicated that thinking, that's when I began to really heal.
I love that.
Peace.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's really important too about what you said. It's like knowing, like, because it really speaks to like collectively what happened to us, right?
Right.
So like individual level, we talk about something happened to us, and there's nothing wrong with us. What Wize was breaking down is like collectively something happened to us,
Right.
and it's not our fault to be in this predicament.
Let me add this point.
But we internalize what happened to us, and now we acting it out on each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna add a personal part. So my father was a Vietnam veteran, and my father, when he came back, is when he met my mother. He lost his first marriage due to his post-traumatic stress, the PTSD. He didn't even realize what was going on. I definitely didn't understand as a child. So he was abusive. He was very aggressive, very abusive. You understand? He was an alcoholic. And he was going through things that he couldn't understand and we didn't understand. It took me years to understand that. I understood it when I did 21 years. It took like at the last part of me, um, in the last years of me about to get out of prison, but I didn't know I was about to get out, but I was fighting to get out. And I'm going through different things in my mind, reflecting back on my past and seeing like certain things because at one time I was an innocent little child. I wasn't thinking about no crime. I wasn't thinking about no street. I wanted to go to school when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm eager to want to go to school. I want to learn. And so then change took place, and that innocence was gone. And part of that derived from the physical abuse. My father was very aggressive, and he was schizophrenic, and so like how the brother was saying yesterday, when you go through certain things in your household, the streets become a place where you're looking for what you don't really know if you're supposed to be receiving love. Like I never heard the words "I love you" as a child. I tell my queen that, like, yo, when I was young, we didn't say "I love you." My mother didn't even say "I love you." I'm the first one that I introduced "I love you" to my family when I'm locked up. Locked up made me say "I love you" on the phone talking, and then he said "I love you" back. I love you too. To this day, now we say that, but I never heard that as a child. Never ever heard those words, "I love you." So these things can make you cold because there's certain nourishment you need as a child. There's certain psychological, emotional nourishment. If you don't receive this nourishment, you become, for the lack of a better way to say it, retarded or perverted. Your mental becomes distorted. And again, it's a derivative thing, So I just end with that part.
Yeah. Now I'm nervous.
Hey.
All right, so we're going to open it up to the audience. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything that comes to mind, anything that resonates with you, anything you want to release. I think the other thing to say too is just, this topic is very heavy, and we're touching on a lot of things I'm sure that like many of you can relate to, and we just want to let you know that like if you're feeling the way, we'll provide a space for you to just like process that, or if you want to step out, it's too heavy. I think that's important to acknowledge, because this can be triggered, right? And you don't want to do what they call a trauma porn and just like open you up in a way and did not provide you some type of space for you to be closed up and help the process. Do y'all get it? want to say something, something comes to mind from your heart, time is now.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for I'd like to say thank you so much for your presence. It means a lot. And on the journey, on our journey of healing, when you said, share your story, that is what we must continue to nourish and manifest in our smaller circles. So the smaller circles of whether, whatever home is